Welcome to the Risk Wheelhouse, the podcast where we navigate the ever-changing seas of risk management and technology. Join your hosts, Ori Wellington and Sam Jones, as they steer you through the latest trends, insights, and strategies shaping the future of integrated risk management. Ready to chart a course towards success? Hop aboard and let's set sail into today's deep dive.
Hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm Ori Wellington, an analyst here at Wheelhouse Advisors.
And I'm Samantha Jones, also with Wheelhouse.
You are tuning in to another edition of the Risk Wheelhouse. This is the show where we try to crack open the often dense, sometimes chaotic, but always absolutely critical world of integrated risk management, IRM.
That's right. And our goal here is pretty simple, really. We want to help you navigate the market, understand the trends that actually matter, and, frankly, figure out how to stop risk from being a four-letter word in your organization.
And start making it a strategic asset.
Exactly.
And today we're doing something a little different. Usually we might bounce around a few different news items or market updates, but today is a proper deep dive. We're focusing entirely on a single high-impact article that I genuinely believe is going to change the way a lot of you look at your own organizations.
It really is a foundational piece. We're going to be dissecting IRM Navigator, the operating model for integrated risk management.
And we absolutely have to mention the author right up top, because in this specific sandbox, his name carries a ton of weight. This piece was written by John A. Wheeler.
Right. And for those listeners who might be newer to the industry, or maybe you just joined a risk team recently, John isn't just an observer writing commentary. He's the founder and CEO of Wheelhouse Advisors. But, more importantly for the history books, he's the person who actually coined the term integrated risk management back in 2016.
Which is just wild to think about. Before that point, we were all just sort of swimming in the soup of GRC governance, risk, and compliance, and dealing with all that legacy tech. He was the one leading the research that effectively said, hey, we need to move beyond just checking boxes.
Exactly. So when he sits down to write about where the industry's going, or specifically about something like an operating model, it's not speculation. It's coming from, nearly a decade of defining this entire category.
So let's get into the meat of this. Here's the problem statement, or the hook, as I like to call it. I talk to a lot of companies, and you do too. And they tell us, look, we've done the work.
Right. They feel like they've checked all the boxes.
Exactly. They say, we have an enterprise risk management program. We have standards. We know who is accountable for what. They have the binders. They have the software. They have the committee meetings.
They have the heat maps. Oh, everyone loves a heat map.
Oh, the heat maps. Red, yellow, green. It looks fantastic on a slide deck. But, and here's the twist, when you actually look at how they make decisions, how they plan for the next year, where they allocate capital, how they run their daily operations, risk data is nowhere to be found.
That is the central conflict.
The risk team is over here doing risk things, and the business is over there doing business things.
And they just don't meet.
Never. And that is exactly the thesis of John's article. He argues the gap isn't conceptual anymore. People get the concepts. The gap is operational. Organizations are stuck at what he calls coordination. They're coordinating risk activities, sure.
But they haven't moved to embedded management.
Coordination versus embedded management. That is the key distinction we are going to unpack today. Before we dive into the details, just a quick housekeeping note for everyone listening. You can find the full source material we're discussing today at risktechjournal.com. That's our free standard publication.
And for those of you who want the really deep analysis, the kind of stuff you'd usually pay a fortune for from the big analyst firms, you should check out the RTJ Bridge. That's at rtj-bridge.com. It's our premium, deeper analysis published weekly, and it really is the best way to get that high-level insight at a fraction of the cost.
And of course, for everything else about us and the research we do, head to wheelhouseadvisors.com. Okay, plugs over. Let's get to work. Section 1, the operational gap.
Let's do it.
So paint the picture for me. What does it actually look like when a company is stalling in a coordinated state? Because coordinated sounds good, right? If I'm coordinating an event, that's a positive thing.
It does sound positive, and that's why it is such a dangerous trap. It feels like progress, especially if you came from, total chaos before that.
Right.
In a coordinated state, an organization has usually centralized its risk registers.
Okay, so all the lists of bad things that could happen are in one place instead of scattered across 50 different spreadsheets on 50 different laptops.
Exactly, and they've harmonized their taxonomies.
Which is just a fancy way of saying everyone agrees on what to call the risks, right?
Right.
We all agree that a cyber breach means the same thing in marketing as it does in IT.
Precisely. You have a shared vocabulary. And you probably have a centralized reporting structure. The board gets a nice unified report every quarter. Looks great.
So what's the failure? I mean, that sounds like a well-oiled machine. Why is John saying this isn't enough?
The failure is in the outcome. Despite all that centralization, decision velocity and decision quality don't improve.
Okay, break that down for me. Decision velocity.
Speed. Can you make a safe decision faster because you have risk data? In a coordinated model, the answer is usually no. You have to stop, go ask the risk team for a report, wait for the analysis, and then you can proceed.
So the risk insight isn't happening in the meeting where the decision is being made.
No, it's a sidecar. It's an afterthought.
It's an attachment to the email, not the text of the email itself.
That is a great way to put it. And because it isn't integrated into the management systems that actually run the business, risk just becomes a reporting exercise. We are reporting on what happened or what we think might happen, but we aren't using that data to steer the ship in real time.
It feels like you're looking in the rearview mirror versus looking through the windshield.
100%.
So the natural question then is, why haven't the standards fixed this? We have frameworks. We have ISO, we have NIST, and we have the big one, COSO. Why aren't they solving this operational gap?
And this is a really crucial point in the article. Existing standards like COS, and that's pronounced COSO for anyone taking notes, they're incredibly valuable, but they generally stop at two things: intent and structure.
Intent and structure. Okay, unpack that.
Right. So they describe alignment with strategy. They tell you that you should align risk with your goals. And they clarify accountability: who owns the risk, who checks the risk, who provides assurance.
But they don't give you the instruction manual.
That's it, exactly. They rarely prescribe how the data, the workflows, the evidence should be unified across different domains. They don't tell you how to get the data from the IT server log into the operational risk dashboard that the CFO is looking at automatically without some poor analyst pasting it into a spreadsheet in the middle.
It's the how. And that leads us directly to the mission of the IRM Navigator.
Yes. So John defines the IRM Navigator not as another framework. We really don't need another one of those. And not as a control standard. And, this is important, not as a technology platform. You can't just go buy the Navigator off the shelf and plug it in.
It's more of a mindset shift or a blueprint.
It's a management operating model. Its specific goal is to translate that management intent, the "we want to be safe and profitable" idea, into unified execution. And it does that across 4 specific domains: enterprise, operational, technology, and compliance.
Are you ready to see risk management in action? At Wheelhouse Advisors, we've launched a new YouTube channel dedicated to integrated risk management. You'll find quick explainers, insights from our IRM Navigator research reports, highlights from the Risk Journal, and conversations from the Risk Wheelhouse podcast. We're covering the topics that matter most to executives and risk leaders, from AI governance and cyber insurance to operational resilience and regulatory change. Every video is designed to help you anticipate risks, adapt with confidence, and build resilience in a digital-first world. In our first video, we explain how ISO 42001, the EU AI Act, and the NIST AI Risk Management Framework can work together as a unified playbook for AI risk. Subscribe today at youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv and get the latest insights delivered directly to you. That's youtube.com/@wheelhouseadv. Subscribe now and stay ahead of the risks that matter most.
Okay, I really want to visualize this because I think the 4-layer stack analogy in the article is the biggest aha moment for understanding where this all fits. Because I know our listeners are sitting there thinking, wait a minute, I just spent 2 years implementing the 3 lines of defense model. Are you telling me to throw that out now?
Definitely not. And that's why the stack analogy is so helpful. It categorizes everything very clearly. So just imagine a layer cake with 4 layers.
Okay, I'm hungry, but I'm with you. Layer 1, the bottom, the foundation.
Layer 1 is principles and standards. This is where COSO ERM lives.
Okay, COSO, got it.
Right. The role of this layer is to define management intent. It's the statement of what effective ERM should accomplish. It talks about objective setting, risk appetite, culture. It's the why and the what.
Okay, so Kiyososo says, we intend to manage risk in order to create and preserve value.
Correct. But, as we just discussed, it has a limitation. It doesn't specify how to unify execution when your legal team uses one piece of software, your IT team uses another, and your ops team is still using clipboards and spreadsheets.
Right. Okay, moving up the stack, layer 2.
Layer 2 is accountability models. This is the home of a 3 lines model from the IIA.
The Institute of Internal Auditors.
Yes. The role here is accountability. It clarifies the roles. The first line owns the risk, that's management. The second line challenges and monitors, that's your risk and compliance functions. And the third line assures, that's internal audit.
Right. This is what stops everyone from pointing fingers when something goes wrong. I thought you were watching the firewall. No, I thought you were.
Exactly. It reduces confusion about who does what. But again, the limitation, it is not an operating model. It doesn't tell you how a risk signal, say, a failed server flows from the first line to the second line, or how evidence about it is generated and shared. It just says who is responsible for it when it happens.
So it's an org chart, not a wiring diagram.
That is a perfect analogy. Now let's skip layer 3 for just a second. Let's go all the way to the top, layer 4. This is execution and instrumentation.
The actual doing, the day-to-day.
The doing. This is your processes, your controls, your workflows, and importantly, your risk tech platforms. This is the software you log into every day.
So we have the intent at the bottom in layer 1, the accountability in layer 2, and the tools at the top in layer 4. So what's missing? What's in the middle?
The glue, the connective tissue, that is layer 3. The IRM Navigator. Its role is operating integration.
So this sits between the high-level standards and the actual buttons you push on your keyboard every day.
Yes. It defines the integration points. It defines the maturity progression. It defines the outcome measures. Without layer 3, you can have great standards and clear roles, but your tools at the top are just functioning in silos because nothing has been architected to actually connect them in a meaningful way.
That makes so much sense. You can have the best blueprint, which is COSO, and the best construction crew with clear jobs, which is the 3 lines model. But if you don't have a project manager and a schedule, the navigator, you're just going to have a bunch of people standing around with hammers.
Or worse, you'll have them building 4 different walls that don't meet in the corners.
Which happens way more often than we'd like to admit. Okay, so that's where it fits. Now let's talk about what it does. The article introduces this concept of pre-IC, PRAC, the 4 executive objectives.
This is a really important shift in thinking. I mean, usually when you ask a risk manager what their objective is, they say things like compliance with Sarbanes-Oxley or achieving cybersecurity maturity level 4.
Right. Very technical, very specific, and usually
Yes.
very boring to the CEO or the board.
Exactly. The IRM Navigator structures risk management around 4 executive objectives that actually mean something to the CEO and the board. And the crucial distinction here is that PRA is not a reporting construct. You don't go and create a PREAC report. It's an alignment mechanism.
Okay, let's walk through them. P is for performance.
Performance. This is about enabling better decisions and creating value under uncertainty. It's moving beyond just avoiding bad things. This is about taking the right risks to actually grow the business.
This is the one that always trips people up. Risk management helps performance.
But it's true, isn't it? If you have better brakes on your car, you can drive faster, not slower.
That's the analogy. If you know exactly where the cliff edge is, you can drive right up to it and enjoy the amazing view. If you're just driving in the dark with no idea, you have to crawl along at 5 miles an hour. Performance is about using risk data to go faster, safely.
I love that. Okay, R is for resilience. Resilience. This is all about sustaining operations through disruption and stress. And note the word sustaining. It's not just about bouncing back after a disaster. It's about being able to operate through the disaster.
That's a huge topic right now, especially
Yeah.
with supply chains.
Yeah.
It's not just, do we have insurance if the factory burns down? It's, can we shift production to a different factory within 4 hours and not miss a single order?
Precisely. That is a resilience objective. It's active, not passive.
A is for assurance.
Assurance. This is about increasing confidence that your controls and your responses operate as intended. This is the sleep at night factor for the board. How confident are we that the things we say we're doing on paper are actually happening in reality?
And finally, C is for compliance.
Compliance. Meeting your obligations efficiently and predictably. And that word efficiently is key there. Compliance shouldn't be a fire drill every quarter where everyone stays late pasting screenshots into Word documents. It should be a natural byproduct of good, well-managed operations.
So when you put these together, performance, resilience, assurance, and compliance, you suddenly have a language that the entire C-suite speaks. The CEO cares about performance. The COO cares about resilience. The audit committee chair cares about assurance. The general counsel cares about compliance.
Exactly. And the IRM Navigator says your risk operating model must serve all four of these objectives simultaneously. You can't just build a program for compliance and then hope it helps with performance. It won't. You have to design for it from the start.
So we've got the objectives. Now let's get into the mechanics of it. How do we actually stitch this whole monster together? The article talks about the 4 integration points.
Right. So these are the seams in the organization where fragmentation usually happens. And John identifies 4 specific areas where you need to anchor your unification efforts.
Okay, walk us through them.
First is goals. This aligns with your enterprise risk management activities. You have to link every significant risk to the strategic goals of the company. I mean, if a risk doesn't threaten a strategic goal or present an opportunity to achieve one, why are we spending time and money tracking it?
That's a fair point. Okay, what's next?
Second is processes. This aligns with your operational risk management activities. You have to map risk to the actual business processes: order to cash, procure to pay, hire to retire. If you don't understand the process, you can't possibly manage the risk within it.
Makes sense.
Third is assets. This aligns with technology risk management activities. And when we say assets, we mean servers, data centers, laptops, but also your critical data sets, your intellectual property, the crown jewels.
And this is usually the domain of the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer.
Yeah.
And just for everyone, we pronounce that CISO.
Right. The CSO usually owns the assets, but the risk to those assets directly impacts the processes and the goals. You can see how they start to connect, right?
And the 4th integration point.
Fourth is policies. This aligns with your compliance and assurance activities. These are the rules of the road, the internal and external obligations you have to meet.
So goals, processes, assets, policies.
And the distinction the article makes here is just vital. A coordinated program just collects information across these seams. They might have a big spreadsheet that lists a goal next to a process, next to an asset.
But they aren't actually integrated. They're just neighbors on a page.
Right. An embedded program integrates management execution across them. What that means is, if a policy changes, it automatically triggers a review of the assets and processes associated with that policy, which in turn updates the risk score against the related strategic goal.
That is a dynamic system. That's not a report, that's a nervous system.
That is the perfect metaphor. It's an enterprise nervous system.
And there's always a but. You can't just snap your fingers and have a nervous system. That takes time. It has to evolve. And this brings us to the maturity progression in the model.
Yes, the roadmap. This is one of the most useful parts of the model for our listeners because it helps you self-diagnose. You can look at it and say, okay, where are we really?
And there are 5 stages. Let's run through them quickly. Stage 1, foundational.
Foundational. This is where most startups are, and frankly, some very large old companies too. It's siloed, it's manual, and it's largely reactive. Something breaks, you scramble to fix it. You might have a risk register, but it's probably an Excel file on someone's desktop.
Stage 2, coordinated.
Coordinated. This is the trap. This is where the article suggests many large organizations get stuck. You have centralized reporting. You've probably bought a GRC tool. But the workflows are still fragmented. The data is pulled in manually once a quarter for the big report. It looks pretty, but it's stale the minute it's published.
Okay, stage 3, embedded. This sounds like the goal.
This is the tipping point, embedded. This is where risk processes are integrated directly into your operational systems and your decision forums.
Give me a real-world example of integrated into operational systems.
Okay. Imagine a procurement system. A manager wants to hire a new vendor. In a coordinated model, they hire the vendor, and then maybe a month later, the risk team gets a list and checks if that vendor is compliant or has a bad security score.
Too late. The contract is already signed.
Exactly. In an embedded model, the procurement software itself has a live API connection that checks the vendor's credit rating and their real-time cyber score before the manager can even click the approve button. The risk check is part of the transaction, not a separate activity.
That's powerful.
Oh.
Okay, stage 4, extended.
Extended takes that internal integration and pushes it outside your four walls out to your third parties.
Uh-huh.
You have shared platforms and shared taxonomies across the enterprise and your critical ecosystem partners. Your key vendors might be feeding risk data directly into your risk model in real time.
And finally, the sci-fi stage. Stage 5, autonomous.
Autonomous. This is where AI really comes in, and we're talking about AI-driven sensing, testing, mitigation, and verification, all with real-time assurance.
So in this world, the system detects a new type of cyber threat, automatically deploys a patch to the vulnerable assets, and updates the compliance and risk scores without a human having to schedule a meeting about it.
That's the vision. It's like the human immune system. Your body fights off a virus without you having to consciously tell your white blood cells what to do. That is the ultimate goal of the IRM Navigator maturity ladder.
It's fascinating, but I want to pause on the investment aspect here, because the article notes that moving up this ladder isn't just about buying more expensive software.
No, and that's a critical insight for anyone listening. The progression requires real investment in operating design, process discipline, and data unification. You cannot buy your way to stage 5 with just software licenses. You have to do the hard, unglamorous work of defining your processes and cleaning up your data.
It's the classic garbage in, garbage out rule. I mean, an AI can't save you if you don't even have a clear inventory of who owns your most critical servers.
Exactly. That operating model layer 3 of the cake has to be built. It can't just be bought.
So we've covered the gap, the stack, the peer ec objectives, the mechanics of integration, and the maturity model. Now we get to the so what section. What are the big strategic implications of all this?
I think if we synthesize all this, the ultimate goal of the IRM Navigator is to solve that original conflict we started with, that massive gap between doing risk work over here and managing the business over there.
Right.
If CSO is the intent and the 3 lines model is the accountability, the Navigator is what makes the actual integration actionable. It's the bridge between the two.
There's a quote in the article's discussion that I think just sums it up perfectly. Organizations that stop at coordination will continue to report on risk. Organizations that implement an operating model for integration will manage with risk.
That is the bumper sticker right there.
Yeah.
Manage with risk. It's a completely different verb.
It shifts risk from being a sidecar, something annoying and heavy that slows you down, to being part of the driver, part of the navigation system that helps you get where you're going faster and safer.
And just think about the competitive advantage there. If company A is reporting on risk, they are looking in that rearview mirror. They know what hit them last month. If company B is managing with risk, they're looking through the windshield with a high-tech HUD. They see the pothole before they hit it. I mean, who is going to win that race?
Company B every single time. And in today's volatile market, whether it's geopolitical instability, AI disruption, climate change, the ability to see clearly through the windshield is basically the whole game.
It is. It's no longer optional. The speed of risk itself has increased. You just can't wait for the quarterly report anymore. The world has already changed 3 times by then.
So let's wrap this up. We've been on a pretty big journey today. We started with the operational gap in ERM, what we call the coordination trap.
We introduced the solution, the IRM Navigator, which sits as that crucial third layer in the stack between intent and accountability on one side and execution on the other.
We talked about the PR-EPT objectives, performance, resilience, assurance, and compliance, as the way to align with what the C-suite actually cares about.
We looked at the 4 integration points, goals, processes, assets, and policies, as the seams that we need to stitch together across the organization.
And finally, we climbed the maturity ladder from a foundational reactive state all the way to a future that is autonomous and AI-driven.
It's a comprehensive model. And again, it's not just theory. This is coming from the person who literally defined the space.
So, here is my final provocative thought for our listeners. I want you to go back to your desk or to your next Zoom meeting, and I want you to look at the risk reports that you are either generating or receiving.
Put them to the test.
And ask yourself this question. Is this report telling me what happened, or is it helping me decide what to do right now? Are you a reporter, or are you a manager?
And then look at your operating model. Do you even have an operating model for integration, or do you just have a list of people in different departments who are supposed to talk to each other every so often? The difference between those 2 things is the IRM Navigator.
That is the question to mull over. If you want to dig deeper into the source material, and I highly, highly recommend you do, head over to risktechjournal.com.
And for that next level analysis, remember to visit retj-bridge.com to subscribe to the RTJ Bridge. It's weekly, it's deep, and it's a fraction of the cost of the big research firms.
And for more on the firm behind the model, you can always find us at wheelhouseadvisors.com. Thank you all for listening to the Risk Wheelhouse.
Thanks for listening. Keep navigating.
See you next time.
That wraps up another episode of the Risk Wheelhouse. Thank you for spending time with us at Wheelhouse Advisors today. We hope you found the conversation insightful and actionable for your organization's risk strategies. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. If you're looking for more in-depth analysis and thought leadership on risk technology, be sure to visit the Risk Tech Journal at therisktechjournal.com. It's your go-to source for comprehensive articles, expert interviews, and the latest trends shaping the industry. Subscribe today to stay informed. For any inquiries or feedback, please contact us directly at info@wheelhouseadvisors.com or feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and x.com and share your thoughts or suggestions for future topics. Visit wheelhouseadvisors.com for more information and resources. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, navigate wisely.